Welcome to Shot Clock Scribbles. In today's episode, we're diving deep into the latest basketball news, making some early prediction on season accolades and leaders, and taking a look at the preseason schedule with a few key matchups to watch. I'll also be answering a few fan questions before wrapping up with a reveal of which East Coast preseason game I'll be attending. I did this recording in two sections. I did the first on Friday, the second portion on Monday, September 23rd, and wrapping up around 6 p.m. Pacific time over here on the West Coast. Let's get right into it. In this section of the pod, I'll be speaking about headlines that are making waves in the WNBA and NBA. First things first is the 76ers are staying put in Philly. The mayor over there endorsed a $1.3 billion project for the city, which now needs to be approved by the city council. We'll keep our eyes peeled on what happens with that. It looks like these guys are not going to be renewing their lease when it comes up in 2031. New stadium is on the horizon over there in Philly. Speaking of the 76ers, this gives me rumblings of the Sacramento Kings potentially moving to Seattle several years back in 2014, 2015, I believe it was. A roller coaster of emotions during that. I'm sure a lot of people there are having the same feelings that people right here in Sacramento were feeling. Emotions that we don't really want to remember too much of because we have our stadium now and it's doing a lot of good things for the economy right here in Sacramento. Sticking with the 76ers, Joel Embiid just inked a $130 million maximum contract extension to remain with the 76ers. Sources told ESPN. This just came out today. I'm recording this on Friday, September 20th. It's around 9:30 a.m. over here on the West Coast. I have a quote from Joel here. Quote, "I want to be here the rest of my career. I love this community and everything you've given me and my family." And Embiid wrote, "There is a lot more work to do. You guys deserve a championship, and I think we're just getting started." Closed quote. Bumpy ride for Joel and the 76ers last season, and a lot of ups and downs, to be quite frank with you guys, with his 76ers career. He's been an MVP a couple of times. I spoke about his accolades last time on the pod. I think very highly of Joel. If JoJo can stay healthy, he is one of the best big man, if not NBA player right now in the game. Let's look at JoJo's numbers throughout his 76ers career. In 433 games in all starts with the franchise, JoJo has averaged 27.9 points on 50.4% shooting, 11.2 rebounds, 3.6 assists, and 1.7 block shots across 31.9 minutes per contest. Very good numbers there. He ranks first in franchise history in scoring average, 27.9 points per game, fifth in block shots, 720 of those, tied for sixth in triple doubles with 7, and seventh in total points scored. He is sitting at 12,071 points as it is. And Embiid also ranks third on a franchise list with 8 50-point games. More of those this upcoming season, I'm sure, for JoJo and the 76ers. And to be honest with you guys, I have high expectations of these 76ers. I think they have a really good chance at having a crack at the Boston Celtics this upcoming year. Of course, the Seeds are looking to repeat. And if these 76ers can stay healthy, you don't have any excuses this time. If somebody gets hurt, if Paul George gets hurt, you still have JoJo, vice versa. And in addition to that, you just signed Tyrese Maxey, fun max deal. That's no excuse now. You don't have any excuses to come up with if things do go sour in the wrong way. That is the goal, is to win a championship. We'll see what the 76ers do this upcoming season. Next piece of news is Woj announces a retirement in the news media space. I have a long post that he had on social media. I'll just read that out to you guys in case you haven't seen it. Then I'll talk about Woj right after. So here's a quote. "I grew up the son of a factory worker 2 miles from ESPN's campus and only ever dreamed of ever making. I grew up the son of a factory worker 2 miles from ESPN's campus and only ever dreamed of making a living as a sports writer. 37 years ago, the Hartford Courant gave me my first byline and I never stopped chasing the thrill of it all. This craft transformed my life, but I've decided to retire from ESPN and the news industry. I understand the commitment required in my role, and it's an investment that I'm no longer driven to make. Time isn't in endless supply, and I want to spend mine in ways that are more personally meaningful. Time isn't in endless supply, and I want to spend mine in ways that are more personally meaningful. I leave with overwhelmingly gratitude. I leave with overwhelming gratitude for countless mentors and colleagues, subjects, and stories, readers, and viewers. No one has benefited more than me from the belief, trust, and generosity of others. The past 7 years at ESPN have been a particular privilege. I'm appreciative of the company's leadership, especially Jim, Pitaro, and Christina Douglas, for the understanding and acceptance of my decision to make a life change. After all these years reporting on everyone's teams, I'm headed back to my own. Signed out 30. Close quote. So I think everybody was pretty stunned the other day when they saw this come up on their social media platforms. And it's not a secret that we'll all miss Woj and his Woj bombs during the offseason, especially, and mid-season trades that happen. A lot of players have heard that they're getting traded from, which shouldn't happen in theory. You should be hearing it from the team if they're going to let you go. But to have somebody with his expertise that's been doing this, like you said, 37 plus years in this journalism and sports media space, it sounds like he's accomplished all the things that he wanted to accomplish. It sounds like he has a big gratitude to the industry that has made a living for him, but now he wants to do what he wants to do, like really wants to do. And he's going back to his alma mater, and he's going back to his alma mater in St. Bonaventure, which is a private university in New York. It sounds like this is very voluntary, but who am I to not discuss some conspiracy theories that maybe he had intel on somebody called Shams potentially talking with ESPN and could be a replacement. I don't know. What do you guys think out there? Did Woj leave voluntarily, or do you think he was forced out of the company? Especially a lot of turnover at ESPN during the last couple of years. Put that in the comments below so I know what you guys are thinking out there in the world. And we all know this is a business. At the end of the day, this is a business, and I've been very adamant about going against big companies that only look after themselves and nobody but themselves. So, hey, it is what it is. We're going to move on to the next subject here. The next piece of news I wanted to get to you guys is the city of Roses, that is Portland in the Pacific Northwest, will get a new WNBA team in the year of 2026. The news comes after two other expansion franchises were announced in Golden State. That was in October of 23, and also Toronto. The news comes after two other expansion franchises were announced in Golden State and Toronto, with a new $2.2 billion media deal, greater investment from corporate partners, and boosting attendance, which we've all seen have gotten spiked up, and TV viewership as well has also gone up. New expansion, fans and stakeholders alike all have plenty of reason to feel confident with where the WNBA is headed right now. It sounds like it has a bright future ahead of itself. And as somebody who lives on the West Coast, I'm very happy to have another basketball team in the vicinity and up here on the West Coast. I'm happy that this expansion also happened right here on the West Coast, and especially the Pacific Northwest, which I think is one of the greatest places in the country. I'm being biased, of course, because I live right by it, but I want to take a hypothesis as well, is this new team, these two out of the three new teams, Golden State and Portland, it's fair to say that these guys are going to be enemies when it's all said and done, or it might even happen from the very tip. So very exciting to hear what's going on with the WNBA, especially with the WNBA playoffs start on Sunday. So right around the corner. If you're listening to this, it's Friday. It's around 2 p.m. Pacific time, and the playoffs begin in a few days for the WNBA. Angel Reese did get hurt a couple weeks ago, which sucks for the league as she was a double-double machine and always in headlines and doing good things for the game and pushing the game, as well as Caitlin Clark. So that was a tragedy to see her go down, especially before the playoffs even began. Sticking with the WNBA, I don't know if you guys have been watching or paying attention, man, but it's insane right now, y'all, what A'ja Wilson is doing right now in the W. She is just absolutely killing it. And I think these guys are going to win the WNBA championship and go on a three-peat. And if you've not been paying attention, man, I've got some crazy numbers for you guys right now. I gathered this the other week, so take this with a grain of salt. These numbers right here are from May 25th to September 1st, which is a couple weeks ago. So listen to some of these stat lines that she had here. Listen to this shit. 42 points, 6 rebounds against Dallas on August 27th. 36 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 steals June 5th against Dallas. 41 points, 17 rebounds on 70% shooting from the field. That was against the Phoenix Mercury on September 1st. 30 points, 13 rebounds versus Phoenix as well. 29 points, 15 rebounds on 67% shooting from the field against Indiana on May 25th. 35 points, 12 rebounds, 6 blocks on July 5th against the Los Angeles Sparks. So absolutely killing it. And if we go after September 5th, some notable headlines that she made. 30 and 14. And if we're going to go a couple stat lines after September 1st, and I'll be saying points and rebounds when I give you guys these stats. 30 and 14 against the Sky, 27 and 12 against the Fever, 29 and 9 against the Connecticut Sun. I mean, absolutely just balling. I think what impresses me the most about A'ja right now is 95 to 98% of her points come from the two. That is harder to do. She rarely takes threes, for example. In the last 6-game stretch that I just talked about above here, she's only shot 4 times and she's only made 1. So obviously 20%. She knows that that's not her bread and butter. She knows her bread and butter is to go to the paint, feed in that paint, get to the line, knocks her free throws down at a pretty nice clip, and use her strength. She's a big woman, and when she's in that paint, man, she just bullies girls in that paint. So she needs to keep doing what she's doing right now, because when it's all said and done, she'll become the GOAT of women's basketball. And that's not a fluke. I hope you guys are listening to this. Maybe the playoffs will make you guys pay attention, but don't lose your eyesight on A'ja right now. She's absolutely balling. And she's dating Bam Adebayo, if you guys don't know by now. Switching gears briefly here, I wanted to quickly talk about Media Day and some dates that are important for the next month. Tomorrow is the first allowable day for players participating in the Celtics and Nuggets preseason games in Abu Dhabi to report to the teams. The Boston Celtics also have their Media Day tomorrow, the 25th. Training camp opens for all teams participating in the preseason games outside of North America. September 30th, Media Day for the remaining 28 teams in the National Basketball Association. Training camp opens the next day. It is October 1st. Preseason games, of course, begin on the 4th. Then we have some games slated for the next couple weeks. After that, NBA preseason ends on the 18th, and I'll be going into more detail in just a little bit. Something worthwhile to know is the 12th and the 13th is the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame enshrinement weekend in Springfield, Massachusetts. What's going on, guys? Tendai here, back with the Shot Clock Scribbles. In this part of the pod, I'll be giving my early season predictions on accolades and leaders. So what does that mean? I'll be talking about who I think is going to win MVP, who is going to lead the league in assists, rebounds, points, coach of the year, who's going to make it out of the West, who's going to make it out of the East, and so forth. So this shall be fun. I won't break down every single category to a T, but I will definitely give my vote of who I think should be in that category. All right, so let's start. First thing is first, MVP. I have SGA winning MVP next year. The big men have dominated the last couple of years, Jokic and Embiid. But I think this upcoming year, they give it to a guard. I think he's going to win it next season. He's going to be coming off for his. So look out for that. Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert just won this one. And number 2 in line was Victor Wembanyama. He thought he deserved to win Defensive Player of the Year. He really picked it up in that second half of games as far as him getting more minutes, getting more chances to show what he can do on the offensive end and the defensive end as well. Rookie of the Year. A lot of people have Zach Edey winning this one, but I have Matas Bazilis in Chicago, man. I think he's going to be Rookie of the Year for these simple reasons. Yeah, he's a highlight reel, but I think he's actually going to help the Bulls win some games. It is the East, so it'll be a little easier than the West, and I just think this guy is going to take this trophy this upcoming season, so look out for him. Most improved. So my guess is going to be one that you guys probably wouldn't see coming, but he just got traded to the Hawks from the Pelicans last season. That's Australian guard Dyson Daniels. He only averaged 6 and 4 last season for the Pelicans, but this third year, he's going to be looking to get more points. He averaged around 22 minutes per game last season, but with this Hawks team, they're very high-powered, offensive-driven first team. I could see him averaging around maybe 30 minutes per game. As far as points per game, I think he'll probably be around the 17 mark and 5 rebounds this upcoming season. Career-wise, he has shot the ball at a 43% clip from the field and 31% from 3. Keep an eye out for Dyson Daniels. I think he's going to light up the league. Next guy is 6th Man of the Year. Naz Reid took this trophy last season from Malik. Of course, Malik got hurt towards the end of the season. This upcoming season, he'll be looking to add to the Kings' offense coming off the bench. He led the league in the whole NBA in points per game at one point. Malik, man, he is looking to thrive again under Mike Brown's offense. Next category is points per game leader. Luka led the league last season with 34 points per game. I think this season he's going to lead that category again. It might honestly even go up. Points are up in the NBA in general as a whole. I think this upcoming season he averages around 36 points per game. So only 2 more. Assists per game. Who's going to lead this category? I think it's going to be Tyrese Halliburton. He already led the league last season in this category. He's going to do it again. Rebounds per game. I have Rudy winning this category. Last season, we all know it was Sabonis that led the league. Last season, Rudy averaged close to 13. He was very close with Sabonis as far as being the leader there, but Sabonis notched him off the top spot. I think that with the Kings adding Debo, who averages around 4 rebounds per game, Sabonis is going to get knocked off this leaderboard. Next category is first coach to get fired this upcoming season. I have Chauncey Billups winning this category. Last season, the Blazers were worst in the West with a 25% win average, which is absolute dog shit. Of course, Damian Lillard, a lot of players moving now. They still have Jeremy Grant and some other pieces around them. Sharp, I think is actually going to be better this upcoming year. Bro, like these guys are not getting it done. And of course, development is not really showing as far as some of these young players for their G League team, really. And I just think they're going to be bottom of the West again. And a couple games in the season, I think the Blazers are going to kick the can down the road and just let him go. Next category is Coach of the Year. I have Nick Nurse to win this category. The 76ers underperformed last season, mainly because of Joel Embiid's health. He missed a good portion of games on the back end of the last regular season, and they slipped all the way to the 7th spot. And that's what's going to happen, especially when your all-star goes down. Last season, they were 47-35, which gives them a 57% win average. And although Ime Udoka is the front runner to win this award, the head coach of the Houston Rockets, those guys won 19 more games last season than the year before. They were in the 14th spot. The year prior, they were in the 11th spot last season. And typically this award goes to the coach that has surpassed the win total of their last season. by a considerable margin. This team with the 76ers, the way that these guys are constructed, in theory, top to bottom, when you look at the roster, they should be in the top four, no questions asked. You've got the rookie Jared McCain from Duke coming in, 16-year vet Eric Gordon, who is on the back end of his NBA career, but can still shoot the ball lights out when he wants. The French pickup in Yabusele from Real Madrid had an amazing Olympic run, got picked up by the 76ers this past offseason, and the relationship between him and Joel Embiid is going to be important because those guys have a connection. Obviously, speak French together and are going to have a lot of things in common that helps them off the court as well as on the court as well. Caleb Martin, the former Nevada Wolfpack man, going to be getting some good minutes for the 76ers at the four position. PG8, as we should call him now, Paul George, of course, when you have him on your roster, it should elevate the team and the team should be in a better spot than they were the previous year. KJ Martin, the fourth-year man, might not be a household name, but if you're listening to this and you are a hoop head indeed, then you will know that this is Kenyon Martin's son. KJ had shot 54% from the field in his young NBA career of 4 years. And although he's only averaged 9 points so far this upcoming year, I expect Nick Nurse and the Sixers to ask a little bit more out of KJ. And I expect his numbers in minutes, points to climb slightly than his NBA average. Next category is most points per game. I have Luka in Dallas winning this category. He had a 73 piece in Atlanta last season, the team that actually should have drafted him, but they did that swap with Trae Young. Not so sure if it would be as high as 73. It might be. We'll see. Kobe was the last one to have 80 points in a game several years back. Luka was sniffing that last season, but we'll see who ends up getting this one. Some other notables could be Kevin Durant, Booker, Damian Lillard. These are guys that can go out and get their own. Karl Anthony Towns had a 60-piece last year. Steph Curry had a 60-piece last year. A lot of teams that ended up scoring like that caught an L that night. All right, next category is best team record. I have the Celtics being in this category to win it. Last season, they were 64-18, which is a 78% win average. Pretty damn good. If you're looking at this, I think they lose slightly more games. I think their record is going to be around 60-22. Still win the Eastern Conference as the top dog in Boston. Next category is worst team record. I just talked about Chancellor Billups. This category belongs to the Blazers. Next, playoff points per game. SGA will win this category. He's so crafty. He gets to the line. He makes it look so easy. He averaged a little over 30 points per game in the playoffs this past season. Probably going to be around 34 this upcoming playoffs. Those guys are going to be fighting for that Western Conference Finals and looking to play Boston in the finals, if of course Boston makes it to the finals. But that is my prediction there. Next category is Western finalists. Who's going to come out of the East and the West? You know what, guys? I'll go back to my earlier prediction before the finals started. I had the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Boston Celtics. I just think this matchup between Boston and Minnesota is going to be a must-watch TV. It probably goes more than 5 games that we saw in the NBA Finals this past season. That is a wrap on these categories and who I think is going to win each category. In this section of the pod, I'll be talking about the preseason schedule and notable games that you guys should keep your eyes peeled for. So let's break it down. All right, so the preseason is right around the corner. I did a little preview earlier, but I'll be going more in depth in this part of the pod, so I hope you guys are ready. I'm so happy for the NBA season to begin again. It seems like it's been gone for so long, even though we were spoiled to watch the Olympics in France this past off season. We are looking forward to having the NBA season begin in about a month or so. I'm sure you guys are very excited as well. So, a couple of things I wanted to speak about. Next point I wanted to make is the only teams playing away from home soil are the Boston Celtics and the Denver Nuggets, who will square up in Abu Dhabi. JT, that's Jason Tatum, had an amazing last season. Didn't have such a great Olympic run, but hey, he got the gold medal. It is what it is. But JT's been logging in some real serious airtime this past summer, man. He headed to Vegas right after the season, went to Abu Dhabi for the preseason games for the Olympics. Then he went to the UK. Then he went to Paris for the Olympics. Since he got back, he went on the Jordan Tour in China with Luca Zion and Paolo Banchero. Then he came back to the States and he heads back to Abu Dhabi. His teammate Drew Holiday and Derek White have also logged in some minutes this past off season, but not as much as JT. Next point I wanted to make is it's technically on home soil, but there are games being played in Hawaii. The Clippers and Warriors play in Honolulu on the 5th of October, so that's the second day of the preseason games right around the corner. Next up, I wanted to give you guys a breakdown of key matchups that will be on national TV. That is the Milwaukee Bucks at Detroit on ESPN, Warriors at the Kings right here in Sacramento on ESPN, Minnesota Timberwolves at the Knicks on ESPN. More on that later. Bucks at Dallas on TNT, the Los Angeles Lakers at the Phoenix Suns on TNT, and lastly, the Lakers at Golden State on ESPN2. Those are some very juicy lineups before the NBA season begins. I hope you guys stay tuned for at least some of those. I will be going to one of those games that I'm very excited about and excited to talk to you guys about it in a little bit here. Switching into third gear now, I wanted to talk about the last notable matchups in the preseason that are not on prime time, like I just listed. Of 5 key matchups, 10 total teams. Let's first break those down right now. First matchup is October 7th, Oklahoma City Thunder at the Spurs. So we're getting a new look at the San Antonio Spurs. It'd be good to watch CP3 and Wemby and see what that duo has upcoming for us. And for the Thunder, you have Isaiah Hartenstein and Caruso, latest pickups this offseason as these guys play their first game in a Thunder's uniform. So I'm looking forward to watching that one. The second game is the Lakers at Bucks on October 10th. Notable because this is the Lakers visiting their old coach, Darvin Ham, who got fired after the season ended. Third matchup is Warriors at Clippers. The only reason why I put this game on this list is its first game at the Intuit Dome. The Clippers moved to Inglewood and are no longer playing in the Crypto.com arena as these guys have their own home now. Fourth matchup is Philly at Boston. Honestly, guys, this might be a Eastern Conference Finals showdown later in the playoffs, so stay tuned. Bring out the popcorn for that one. The last matchup here, last but not least, the Memphis Grizzlies at the Dallas Mavericks. Why I chose this game is this is the first time we get to see John in several months after going down with that injury. It's a good opportunity for us to take a look at Zach Edey. A lot of people are saying he's a front runner to win Rookie of the Year this upcoming season. I don't think he's going to win it, but that's my personal opinion. I'm looking forward to what this duo can produce if these two can remain healthy. That is all for this preseason preview. I didn't want to go into every single game and bore you guys. I wanted to pick the matchups that I thought you guys would be interested in watching. Hope you enjoyed that one. We're going to now move on. In this section of the pod, I'll be answering questions from fans after I went on my Instagram and asked fans, what would you like me to cover in next week's episode? I have 2 questions from followers on there. I'll be answering those and moving on. First question comes from a Sacramento local here named Santa, who has also asked questions before. Appreciate you participating in these questions. The question that Santa asked is, what are the possible in-season moves the Kings should consider? So to answer this question, somebody said Julius Randle and Kawhi Leonard, which both don't make sense at all. I hate to break it to you guys. DeMar DeRozan is the biggest free agent the Kings have ever picked up. I don't want you guys to now get that feeling of, hey, we can go out there and get any all-star out there in the field. No, that's not how it works. Sacramento has previously not been a destination for free agents. With Mike Brown, the head coach, Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, and the type of high-paced offense these guys play with certainly attracts players from all over. And let's not get ahead of ourselves. I don't want the Kings to get too high, but never get too low either. Yes, those are players that are very high of caliber, but there's no damn way the Kings are going to pick up these players in the midseason once February comes along. To answer your question here, Santa, it's hard for me to tell. I would like to get back to you on this one until maybe after the All-Star break. That way I can fully assess where the Kings are, where they're lacking, and who might be a great pickup for them in a mid-season trade. I will get back to you on that in several months forward. Next question comes from Mitchell Adams, who is a host on the Pass the Damn Ball podcast. He talks about basketball. He also goes over NFL games, over and unders. If you guys are betting out there, you guys listen to him. He knows what he's talking about. He asked a question on here, which coaches are on the hot seat? Thanks so much for participating, Mitchell. But also a tough question because we all know that NBA head coaching jobs are very hard to get, and they are always on the hot seat all throughout the season. Wins, losses, even if their teams are winning, they still are again looked at as maybe they should make in-season changes, which is not always the best idea. This is a business, and the owners want their teams to be winning. Simple as that. They are mainly the ones that get scapegoated out on the team. The big players on the teams making $30, $60 million per year are not the one to blame. It's always the coach. They always get that pointing finger. And it's very expensive to hire and fire coaches, guys, in the league. As any business owner in the league, high turnover is bad for business. Anybody knows that. Very costly at that. Last season, we saw the Bucks fire Adrian Griffin, who had a winning record and were in the top 3 or 4 during that time. Didn't understand it. They're paying him $4 million per year over 3 years, $12 million total in that deal. Just absolutely nuts. I have 6 coaches right here that are on the hot seat for their jobs. Number 1 is Mike Budenholzer with the Phoenix Suns. He's going to be coaching up those 3-headed snakes in Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. Anytime you have those guys on your roster, you are always going to be on the hot seat. You got to win with that particular team. Number 2 is JJ Redick, only because he is very new to coaching in this atmosphere. And you're coaching the biggest and storied franchise in the NBA, in my opinion. So that is going to be always spotlights and headlights everywhere when it comes down to LA. Number 3 is Nick Nurse, solely for the reason of having Paul George, Joel, Tyrese Maxey on their roster with those top 3 players. You should be getting close to damn well winning a championship in the NBA. So he is my 3rd pick there. Number 4 is Joe Mazzulla. And I put Joe in this category because they are wanting to go back to back. I don't think that he gets fired if the Boston Celtics don't win the NBA championship next season. But I'm going to put him on here just because anytime you win the championships, everybody is going to be looking and fired for playing you. Teams and players are going to be circling their calendar, looking forward to playing the NBA champions and bringing it to you every single damn night. You guys better be ready for everybody wanting your head. Number 5 is Chauncey Billups. You guys were listening earlier. I had him as an early coach to get fired if this team starts out at a really slow start. I just don't think Chauncey Billups is progressing in the right direction, especially with player development, like I spoke about earlier. Last guy on this list is Willie Green. I have him on this list because with the New Orleans Pelicans, you have big stars over there as well. Zion Williamson. Let's see if he can play a majority of the season. Last year, he played 70-plus games, which is the most that he's played so far. Brandon Ingram, it's still unknown what's going to happen to him. CJ McCollum is making $30 million a year. That's just absolutely absurd. But hey, the market is the market. You have DeJounte Murray coming to your team. There's a lot of unknown questions. I talked about this in my last pod with this New Orleans Pelicans team. And if the team doesn't start off very hot to begin the year, you might get the boot there in New Orleans. So those are the 6 guys that are going to be on the hot seat if they are not winning games. In this section of the pod, I'll be talking about which preseason game I will be going to on the East Coast. All right, guys, I am very happy to announce that I'll be heading to the East Coast in a few weeks here and we'll be visiting MSG for the very first time. And I am really excited. I feel like a kid in a candy store right now. The 13-year-old me is absolutely going bonkers inside and cannot wait to be in New York and MSG in the Mecca. The Knicks hosted Timberwolves on ESPN that night. That is the 13th of October. These seats must be crazy expensive during the regular season, but fuck it, it's the preseason, so let's go ahead and fucking live it up. Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do. MSG, Mecca of basketball. It's one of the most, if not most coveted arenas in the league. And it'll be a good time to see this new look team with the new pieces around them. And the Timberwolves as well, who added Rob Dillingham, who can get buckets left to right. I'm very excited to watch this game. I will report back to you guys after this game and let you guys know how it all went down. That is a wrap on episode 26 of Shot Clock Scribbles. Big shout out to all my listeners and supporters. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube at Tendai530. That is NDAI530. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Shot Clock Scribbles for more updates and behind the scenes content. I'll tap in with you guys before the regular season tips off in a few weeks. Until then, stay locked in and we'll catch you soon.